So yeah, a lot of people doubting. Talking to people who, well, a lot of people. There are a lot of people who think like, yeah, is this actually going to turn around at some point? Um, but we gotta understand, or you gotta understand also that I do believe that, well, if you look back historically, there's no um, massive move up without the fear, and there's no massive move down without the euphoria. So the only euphoria, sort of euphoria, we witnessed was, I think, last year, 2024 beginning. Um, so everything points in the right direction, especially macroeconomic, quantitative easing, rate cuts. Um, there is going to be a point where money is going to be pumped in to the economy again, and there's no way, there's no doubt that that money is going to come into crypto also. Um, but it takes longer than we thought at first, especially with Bitcoin like making a new all-time high before halving. Um, but I think at this point we just see money that's already in the market just move around, right, from one place to another. Morning, Oscar. Um, so there's no actually new inflow of money, and of course you can see that if you look at total market caps of coins. Um, there's no surge in market caps of the total altcoin market, and so as long as that surge is not there, it just means there's no new money coming in. So yeah, I can't tell you when the bottom's in. I well, the bottom could be in, right? We could see lower. Different people, different opinions, of course. So we have different pro traders in here, and everybody has their own way of looking at it. And I think the only thing you can do as well, being part of this, is focus on what you can control. Cannot control the markets. We can't control whether the bull run or that last surge of it starts tomorrow or in 2 months or 6 months or whenever it comes. Those are all kind of things that are out of your control. So the only thing, the real thing you need to do is just, okay, yeah, take control where you can. And I think especially if you're just like an investor, the control that you have, Morning Soul, the control that you have is like, well, not looking at your portfolio. The control that you have is focusing on other things rather than just hoping and wishing and feeling bad about your investment. So make the most out of what we do here and jump on following trades, jump on trying to learn to trade on your own, or like, yeah, following properly in a good way, following signals. Make sure you build the foundation for when the time does come, that everything turns around. And honestly, if you ask me, it feels like, if we look back like historically in these phases, this is the despair and like the fear. That's usually where bottoms form. I'm not saying, well, maybe Sol did have along the generational bottom. I'm glad to hear that, man. Nah, but that wouldn't that be the trade? And like you said, Sol, patience, conviction, and just waiting. And I think that is the prime example of what trading is in essence. So it's about waiting for your setup to arrive, and then if it comes, going in it with conviction. Because if you let the noise, the outside noise, get to you at the moment that you have like your setup, and then somebody else says this or somebody else says we go lower, you will never have that conviction to just take the trades your way. So if you have a strategy or you have a model that you trade, stick to that and cancel out the noise. And I think if we talk about patience, I think what Sol said is he had that, like, it's been on his radar for so long. Um, that's what makes a good trader. Spud, man. Yeah. Hopefully, I can I can reassure. Well, I can't reassure you because nothing's like 100% guaranteed. But um, I'll send you a new pair of boxers, man. And I think it is, and I think that's the feeling a lot of us have. Um, yeah, you said that earlier before. Yeah, is that why you took a larger or wider stop loss? Was it something you already calculated or already like took into your uh, idea that we can revisit that low? Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Nah, don't spot. Don't send photos. Don't send photos. Anyways, guys, what's it? What we want to discuss today? What you guys want to talk about? Because it's a shitty rainy day here, so drop your questions or drop anything that you want to discuss into the chat. Make this not only about me talking, just whatever comes up, but Björn Borg boxer shorts or whatever do you have, man? Doesn't well if you well if you nah, just buy some cheap boxer shorts, especially if you're shitting them continuously. Better to buy some cheap ones, right? No. See, Luke is typing. Luke, been typing for 5 minutes, and I will just end up saying good morning. Um. All right. Uh. So guys, what's quite a weird one is more quite a lovely trade for 7R. Nice. No to profits too soon. I'm well. I would say, yeah, take that into account. But eventually, I think you need to, like you have a plan when you enter a trade. You also have to have a plan for exiting the trade. And if you start to think, okay, oh, maybe I should let it run, or maybe it goes higher, and you disregard your exit plan, then you will never be happy with what happens. Like, it's about like executing your plan, and if that plan works, you should be very happy with that. Like, man, making a 7R on a trade, that's nice, right? Um, that's definitely nice. And it's not like the standard. I think most traders, well, trade 2 3R with a good win rate. So be happy with your 7R. And I think ask yourself: did I follow my plan for entering? Yes. Did I follow my plan for exiting? Yes. Be happy. Um, exactly. And but then be happy with that. Focus on that. Okay, I exited. I executed my plan. I made 7R. Journal it. Your reasons. Your overthinking. And there is like the more mechanical you make it, the more easy it becomes to not let those emotions guide you. And I think being able to, how you say, to um, be aware of the things you think without that taking over your actions, that's what you want to do. And I think the more experienced you get, the more easier it becomes. But there's always a next trade. And I think it's the thief of joy if you're now going to start watching the chart and say, yeah, okay, I still have gotten in. Yeah, I know, Soul, but that's you. What the fuck you doing here, man? Nah, always gambling. Nah, and I think the idea of like nobody's a robot, okay? Even the best traders in the world, they have emotions. Um, we are not AI. We are not robots. We well, some people act like they are AI and they can trade like they are AI, but we're not. And everybody has emotions, and everybody will feel certain ways when they take trades, or when they win trades, or when they lose trades. But um, the difference is between somebody who's can be long-term profitable and stick into this game and make money out of trading in the long run are those people that are aware of those emotions and know how those emotions should be, how do you say it, contained, or should be, or how you are able to not let those emotions take over, your click of a button. So they will, like people entering trades and staring at the chart, seeing all the moves. Let's say you enter higher time frame trades. It doesn't matter what happens on the 5 minute as long as your plan is clear on the higher time frame. But I still see a lot of people that trade, let's say they trade the 1 hour or the 4 hour time frame, or they enter on the 1 hour or the 4 hour time frame, swing trades, and then they start looking at like what's happening on the 15-minute candles. That's just messing up, because if you have a 4 hour time frame, in my opinion, what matters is the 4 hour closes and the 4 hour time, or the 4 hour price action, rather than staring at the 1 minute chart, and or staring at your like your P&L balance. Well, that's nice. Yeah, I heard about that. I have never traded on Top Step, but I always see that lockout whenever somebody posts P&L. And I think that is good, but I think there should be, like, you need to be disciplined enough, because Top Step has this lockout. But look, once you get to a point that you trade 5 figures of your own money, where's that lockout button? There's no lockout button. So you need to be able to, well, lock yourself out and stick to your rules. Let's say if you, like, I like usually only trade the 1 hour time frame, and then sometimes I've been looking at scalping because the market is shit and I need my rush. Nah, not gonna lie. But I still, if I take a loss one day, I'll quit for the day. So I'll take a loss next day. I'll see. If I take a win, well, the max that I will risk for the day is my profit. So, but it takes something to say, okay, taking a loss, and I say, okay, fuck, I lost it, and it was my like maybe in half hour into the day or in your trading session, then you lose, and they say, okay, yeah, now okay, I'm going to come back tomorrow. And I think that's where a lot of people that start out trading get a hard time, because they feel the urge and the need to be on the chart continuously. And even if they like have this rule, okay, I'll take one trade, if I lose it, I'll come back tomorrow, they don't walk away. No, instead what they do is they keep staring at the chart, or they say, yeah, I'm a paper trade. But then you paper trade and the perfect setup comes along. Well, then it's going to be hard to stick to your rules. So if you have like one of those rules, and I always talk about that you need a framework, like for your mental peace, and for your psychology stability, your emotional stability, you also need a framework. And I think the longer you trade, the easier it becomes to let that framework go. But especially when you start out teaching yourself good habits, you need to have a framework. And with a framework, what I mean is you need to have like a set of rules for yourself. Say, okay, in these conditions I trade, and in these conditions I don't trade. If I had a bad day, or had a fallout with the missus, or been yelling at the kids or whatever, like that never happens. But if in the morning I feel like I'm not emotionally stable enough, I mean, I'm like a wife sometimes, or like a woman. I didn't say that, right? Sometimes my emotions are all over the place. So all I got to do is just say, okay, you know what? This is not the best situation for me to be trading, because if I feel like I'm not grounded enough, I know, because that's what my journal tells me, I know that I overtrade, or that I take too much trades, or that I mess it up, or that I like don't wait for my A plus setup. I'll just take whatever it feels just to, well, to be in a trade, right? Let me read in the meantime what you say. Yeah, I think the thing that used to make me revenge trade wasn't the fact that I lost money in the trade, was that I used to doubt myself if I was ever going to be profitable. Yeah. Yeah, but I think that feeling of being a failure is because trading is like the total opposite of our life, day-to-day life, company life, business work, whatever you do. Um, and I talk about this a lot because I've heard myself saying this a lot of times. But if you look back at like how you grew up, um, if you look back at the school system, it's all based on two things. It's based on, you need to, well, the better you do, the higher your grade, and failure is unacceptable, because then you get a low grade and you don't like move forward, right? Um, and the other thing is, I was just thinking about it. The other thing is that um, I'm just lost it. Anyway, it's still, I'll get another coffee without milk spot. Now, but what I want to say is that our way of growing up, we always thought that being wrong is not good. So you always need to be right. If you do any how do you say it, any study, or whatever it is, or you want to learn an occupation, what happens is you just learn it in one way and then it works. So if I want to become a doctor, whatever, I know exactly what steps to follow to eventually become a doctor. If I want to become a plumber, I know exactly what I need to learn to become a plumber or electrician or whatever it is that you want to become. So everything around us growing up is built on, well, if you do this, then you get your certificate or diploma, whatever you want to, how you call it in English. And then, well, you are a major in this or you're a major in that. But there is no, well, you can be a major in trading in like 100,000 of different ways. And that's what makes it hard, because failure is part of that. Losing is part of winning. So if you can't lose, you can't win. But if we lose, especially when we come into trading, we feel like it's failure because we always want to be right. We have this, it's built into us. It's like it's like, yeah, it's been there forever that we have this urge to be right and to have the urge to know everything, and we can't handle uncertainty. But so whenever you feel, or whenever you lose a trade, it feels like, oh, I was wrong. Well, who cares? Because next time, it's not about being right or being wrong. It's about being or having a strategy that eventually has an edge over time. And if you know that edge, and that's why you need to back test, and well, I'd rather forward test than live test, but gather the data in your journal so that you can see, okay, if I do this same thing over a long extended period of time, and not 1 week, not 2 weeks, not 1 month, not 2 months, but over a longer period of time, can I then be profitable? Because everybody, every trader goes through a period of time where everything goes against you. And well, that's first why you need to always have risk in check, because when you get to like 4 or 5 losers, the problem is, like, after that one loss we can take, say, okay, yeah, I need to stick to my strategy. I know losses are part of the game, so okay. And then you take a second trade that hits the stop loss. Then you take a third trade, hits a stop loss. The moment that happens, what everybody does is they start looking at the strategy, say, okay, it doesn't work. Man, it doesn't work. So I need to change things. I need to learn more. And then they see somebody else in here or one of the traders that we have use fair value gaps or use, I don't know, whatever they use. So, and they say, oh man, maybe that works for me. Maybe that works. So maybe I need to focus on that. Or maybe I need to learn that. And the moment like your focus becomes tweaking your strategy after a loss or 3 or something like that, you will never find out if you would have been profitable if you stick to it. So in my opinion, if you want to know if your strategy works, you need to at least be trading it like for half a year. And of course we all want to have like big profits but I think majority of people that start trading are nowhere near profitable. Majority gives up, and I think if you're at some point get to break even, being able to like make small wins, it puts you ahead of majority. And then of course you can always tweak, but you gotta give it time to find out. Like the example I always give with flipping a coin, like, it's like a statistical fact that if I flip a coin that the chance on heads is 50%, right? Does that mean if I flip it 10 times that I flip 5 times heads and 5 times tails? No, it does not. I can flip 25 times and I can flip 20 times tails and 5 times heads. But the more I flip in amount, so if I like flip 500,000, 10,000 times, the more I flip, the more it gets to that 50% of chance, right? So what that says is that you need a lot of trades to actually say something about your win rate. So you can't take 3 trades and win them all 3 and say, okay, I have a 100% win rate. Yeah, you have a 100% win rate over those 3 trades, but you don't have enough data to actually say something statistically right about your trading strategy. And I think time is what people don't. Well, I think a lot of people are like, they want to have the outcome, but they don't want to take the time to get there. And of course, like being in Discord like this, it helps a lot with being on that journey. But at the same time, you see other people that put in like big R's or big wins in the profits channel, and you think, yeah, god damn it, man, how does somebody make $1,200? It can happen, definitely, but it's if you trade with risk in check, it should be based on your trading account. So if people have $500 in their trading account and then they risk $100, yeah, you never risk 20% of your account on one trade, right? But people see things in here and say, yeah, I want that too, and they don't want to. That's why I always say teach yourself the good habits. They don't want to focus on those habits. They just want to, well, gamble, right? And I think we all go through that phase of, especially when you start out in here and you see like other people making big money, say, yeah, okay. So if I follow a trader that's like 9 out of 10 times, well, maybe 7 out of 10 times profitable on trades, why shouldn't I up my risk, right? Again, because you want to teach yourself good habits. Eventually, you got to understand, you're in crypto right now, and we all are here to make money. And we all know we got into crypto because of the outrageous profits we have seen people make. The stories about turning $100 into 100K, we all know those stories, but they're just the tip of the iceberg. There's like 0.001% of the people, especially nowadays, that make 100K out of a meme coin with investing $100. So you're better off like going to the casino or buying a lottery ticket. But that is usually why we get into this game. And then you come in here and we say, yeah, okay, but if you trade with $500, just risk $5 to $10 on a trade. Yeah, okay, so if I do that, that means what? You win $20, $30 on a trade, and then you slowly build up your account. Yeah, but that's not what I came here to do, right? I came here to make big money. Yeah, you will make big money if you stick to that. If you stick to that 1%, 2% rule. I think, Sol, you do 4% on Bitcoin, isn't it right? Saw that sometimes coming by. But whatever it is, follow, like if a trader signals says, okay, these are the percentages I use, well, follow the trader, use those percentages. But if there is no, there is no risk called on a signal, what you need to do is say, okay, I risk max 2% on any trade of my trading account. And if that's just $100, it just means you risk $1 or $2. And always look at the percentages and don't look at what you feel or how you feel about that money. Say, yeah, I'm just putting in 100. I don't care if I lose that money. So yeah, I'll just put $50 on a trade. Well, that's a bad habit, right? Because at some point, let's say you trade with 50K, you don't put 25K risk on a trade, right? So that's exactly the same, even though it doesn't feel like it. But that's like the first start of getting detached from your emotions. Like whenever there is a point, let's talk. If you talk about funded accounts, like the same, right? I buy a funded account. Let's say I buy a funded account for $200, and then I buy a funded account. Let's say 25K, cost me $200. Does it then actually feel? Some people say, yeah, I'm more. How do you say it? I'm more disciplined trading a funded account. Honestly, if you ask me, all the funded accounts I blew, it was mostly because I thought, it's only $200. So if I blow this, I only lose 200. I don't lose 25K. And I think the idea of looking at it like that without it being your actual money, well, makes it harder to actually stick to your discipline. Because you say at some point, especially when you get into drawdown, you will say, let's up my leverage, let's just gamble a little bit, because, well, if I blow it, I'll buy a new one. And then I start, let's say you bought a 25K account and you're almost in drawdown, and say, okay, but if I buy a new one, I'll just start back at 25K rather than needing to make up all those losses and get back to 25K on my own. You gotta understand, with funded accounts, their way of making money is not following your trades. Their way of making money is selling a lot of evaluations, and 90% of people not even getting close to passing those evaluations. I know that 10% or something that does pass their evaluation, I think 60-70% never gets to a payout. And that's how they make the money, and that's how they pay you if you do get a payout. Their biggest way of earning money is not following good traders. The biggest way of earning money is all those people that put on evaluations, buy evaluations, and never succeed to get even one payout. I've seen stats, it's been a while now but I've seen some stats of one firm that there were like people buying 50K worth of accounts over the span of like 1 or 2 months and never got a payout. I mean, the fuck, if you have like 50K to put into accounts, why wouldn't you just trade with that 50K? Anyway, so I'm not sure if that was like legit, but it was like posted in one of the discords of one of firms that I think are now bankrupt or don't exist anymore. So, but anyways, what it comes down to again is well, being disciplined, being patient, having a rule book, having a plan to stick to. And I honestly believe that no matter where you come from, I honestly believe that anybody or everybody can make it in trading if you have the right mindset, and if you can like actually be disciplined to do what you want to do, to make mistakes, to learn from those mistakes, and make mistakes again, but keep getting back up and keep getting hit on the chin, and then, well, go on and go further and go further. And I think it doesn't matter what your background is. It doesn't matter with how much money you start. What matters is that you get locked in, and that you, well, in my opinion, for 80% of it is emotions, is trading psychology, is mindset related, and that 20% is technical analysis. Um, yeah, and it's about like finding the right balance between those two. Yeah, exactly. That's like, yeah. I mean, yeah, that's enough for them to pay those payouts, right? I wasn't far off. It was even, well, like 100K. So 1K is 1%. So it was 12% passed. So yeah, 90%. And of those 90%, like, yeah, okay, 40% got a payout. Yeah, it's crazy. But that's that. And it's good that they release those statistics, because that is, if you are like without a foundation, go and say, okay, yeah, maybe I'll just buy a funded account so I have more money to trade with. It's just like it's the same as going to a casino. It's the same as putting, like, yeah, putting it on red on black, going all in or whatever. And of course, if you can trade like in a decent way and follow your plan, and being profitable, you can make you can take payouts out of Top Step, and I think 500 of those payouts are from Lee, right? Uh, I'm just kidding. Um, I think what we what we gotta understand, especially if you trade funded accounts, is that it's not just all rainbows and butterflies. Is that how they call it? Nah, man, like 90%. And thanks for those statistics, because that like backs up what I say. Like, imagine 90% of people. So if 100 people take an evaluation, 90 people don't pass the evaluation. And you have those 10 people that pass, three and a half of them get a payout. Well, maybe two of them get two payouts. So yeah, that are crazy numbers. That are crazy numbers. But again, it doesn't. In my opinion, it's not about how much money you have to trade with. It's not about how many accounts you can buy. It's about being able to teach yourself good habits. Yeah, that's nice, man. That's nice. And I think if you do that way, and if you focused on it, and if you, um, how do you say it? If you are able, well, like I said before, to follow your rules and your framework and your, well, and if you know your pitfalls, that's when you get better as a trader. And don't get me wrong. We are all sometimes, well, we are all sometimes guilty of gambling, or guilty of, well, not completely. I like, I trade the three bar reversal mainly with EMAs. It's very simple, but it works for me. So yeah, I'm sometimes taking a trade, and then I look back and say, why? Especially when it then goes to stop loss. But like, if it just doesn't close where it should close, like even one or two ticks below, and then I say, okay, yeah, and then the next candle goes in the right direction. I say, okay, yeah, it becomes a four bar reversal. Wow, let's just take it. Um, time and time again, I look back in the journal and say, okay, goddamn, why did I do that? What was wrong? So we all keep making mistakes, and we all are on this, this journey that goes on and on and on, like life. We keep learning, and we keep making mistakes, and then we learn from those mistakes, and we head on, and we go move further. And I think if you are able, well, I think my bit of advice for today is, I was talking about it with somebody yesterday in a one-on-one. It was about like focusing on what matters for you. And I've said this, like, we talked, or I did the exit plan course, right, on how to exit properly when the time comes. And the most important part of that is making sure that you know what your enough is, and what your goal is. So what's enough, right? Today, if I would say, okay, you end up this bull run, or you end up the trading year with this amount of money, what's enough for you, right? What's enough for you? So I think eventually, well, where I want to close this session with today is that make sure that you know what your situation is, and based on that, what's your goal? What's your enough? I mean, I've always said if I can make money, I used to, like when I was working full time, and eventually took the plunge, and then started also doing, well, the things as TMT does, not mainly focusing on trading, but like the trading psychology side and the one-on-ones and the courses. The goal was never to, I don't need 10K a month to live the life that I live. I just, if I can cover for my expenses and well, basically make enough, as much money as I did when I was just working full time, then I'm a happy man. Like I don't need a lot of fancy stuff. And maybe that's an age thing, right? I'm getting old. But give me a second, guys. I need to pick up this. Merhaba. Hallo. Hoi, hoi. Ja. Ja, dat gaf ze al aan. Dus ze had al paracetamol genomen. Dus ik had gezegd, als het nou echt niet gaat, dan laat maar weten. Dus dan stuur ze maar naar huis. Dat is goed. Yes, oké. Dank je. Dag. Sorry guys, had a phone. Oldest one is 6, so she's coming home from school. Anyways, like I said, last bit of advice, just go and ask yourself those questions. Okay, what's enough for me, and how does my life look right now, and what am I happy with, and what do I want different, and what do I need to achieve that, and keep that as like a goal for yourself. Write it down, because the moment you come into more money, like especially if we look portfolio wise, let's say at some point everything pops up and then your portfolio starts rising and rising and rising, we forget what our goal was, and we forget where we came from, and then we only want more and more and more and more, and we want more, and we get greedy, and we never stick to the plan. So for today, yeah, just think about what your enough is. Ask yourself those questions. Talk with somebody about the enough, and make sure that you know what you're doing it for. All right, thanks for tuning in. Good to see you guys again here. I will be back tomorrow morning, and then like from next week on, probably try to do these dailies again. So yeah, thanks everybody for joining, and we'll talk again. We'll talk again soon. Bye bye. Ciao ciao.